Well, I finally finished my board. Came out pretty good. I don't know if you can see it. I got it all on the soldered onto the board. It's pretty small, figuring that's my thumb. And then I have all the leads out. Right now I just temporarily have it hooked up to a breadboard. The only thing on the breadboard are the lights flashing. I just wanted to make sure the components were working and the power was working pretty good. I ended up going, I'm running everything off 12 volts on the barrel plug. That goes into, it's called a buck regulator. That takes 12 volts and reduces it down to 5. And that's a chip right here. This thing here. And that's 12 volts coming in and the 5 coming out, which controls the Arduino Nano. And then I've got the 12 volts powering the 2 Darlington chips, which power the lights. And I went with that instead of the 5-volt regulator, just because it was getting a little warm. It was just a little chip with a heat sink on the back, and I noticed that when I ran it a bit, it would get warm to the touch. And so I did some research, and I found like a bag of 5 of these buck converters for like $9 on Amazon. They were pretty cheap, and it stays nice and cool. And it's interesting because there's a little screw, I can show you right here on it. There's a little screw here, and when you first get them, you run your 12 volts in and you turn this little screw until you get the output voltage you want, and you have to turn it quite a few times. And I brought it down. I've got it at exactly 5 volts, so that should be good. My next test is probably to hook up each of these wires. Each of these wires are negatives to different sets of lights that run around the ship that do different functions. And the green wires, I have 2 green wires there for the 2 buttons for the warp and the photons. So that should be pretty good. And if you can see, I'll turn it around. You can see the soldering job I did in the back there. It's really tiny stuff, And my first attempt failed. Here, I'll show you my first attempt. Right here. And I made a mess. My soldering iron was getting a little too hot, and I just had no control. I tried to fix it, and it ended up just messing everything up. But I ended up buying a cheap Amazon soldering iron that was a little more sensitive, a little kit. And as soon as I got that, I could get really, really precise solders on all the little areas, and I tested every trace, and everything was working perfectly. And I'm going with this 30 gauge wire. It's a solid core wire. I originally had a weaved wire, but I found it was too hard to work with on the board, so I ended up going with a solid core, and I think that'll work really well. They had a really good deal. I got a box. I've got something like 196 feet of all the different colors, and each one, it's really interesting how they do it. They come in these little rolls, So I got tons of wiring now to do all this stuff. So that should be pretty good. Yeah, now I think I might cut a piece of that green stuff, a little piece, put a couple buttons on it, wire it onto the green cables here, and make sure that the buttons work, the photons and the warp transfer. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. I'll probably hook up every wire, make sure every output is working correctly, and then I'm done with this. And this will go at the base of the model when I'm finished. I'll cut the breadboard, or not the breadboard, but the circuit board. You just scar it with a knife and you break them to size. I'll drill some holes and I'll mount it in. And that's my update on the lighting for my Starship.